There's a certain gravity to Joe Rogan's podcast stage. A single appearance on the Joe Rogan Experience isn't just a spot on a show, it's a professional stamp. It means visibility, validation, and access to an audience that can blow up your career overnight. So fans were surprised and curiosity was piqued when Esther Ku, a sharp and fearless comic who guested back in 2015, never returned. Why? Was she overshadowing the host? Was the chemistry off? Or is Rogan's podcast simply like any selective club, where not everyone gets a second invite? Today we're diving into why Esther Ku's return hasn't happened, and why it doesn't mean what you might think. Esther Ku appeared on episode 676 of the Joe Rogan Experience in July of 2015. At the time, she was riding a wave of mainstream recognition thanks to her stand-up chops, appearances on MTV's Girl Code and Wild 'N Out, and strong pulse in the comedy circuit. She brought energy, confidence, and a distinct perspective, even sparking comments where it felt like she might be brighter than the host. Fans immediately buzzed. This wasn't your typical token female guest. She commanded attention, and that set the stage for follow-up appearances, but they never came. So why didn't Esther get called back? One theory is that Rogan's current guest strategy skews toward depth over breadth. He's leaned into a roster of repeat collaborators, Bert Kreischer, Theo Vaughn, Eddie Bravo, who provide familiarity and chemistry in reoccurring formats. In fact, some Reddit threads point out that Rogan's recent shows feel more like circle gatherings than open mic nights. In that sense, the show operates as a tight-knit community, where returning guests are often those he actively builds show arcs with. Esther simply didn't find that niche. And without a reoccurring motif, the lack of invite doesn't look like rejection so much as omission. Another factor is substance alignment. The Joe Rogan Experience today gravitates towards intellectual deep dives, UFOs, psychedelics, psychedelia, and big thinkers. It's a format built on extended exploration. While Esther is a dynamic comedian, her strengths lie in fast-paced comedy and observational humor. That energy doesn't always fit a podcast that now stretches 4 or even 5 hours in one sitting. She's terrific at delivering laughs, but Rogan's show has become more philosophy than punchline. Matching formats matters, and chemistry beyond initial spark is not automatic. Could Esther have been too funny? Some fans joke that she eclipsed Rogan. That's a catchy narrative, but unlikely. Rogan is a pro, secure in his hosting, and open to dynamic guests. And if she really overshadowed him, he'd likely have welcomed her back. The fact that she didn't return suggests not insecurity, but rather that she didn't slot into his evolution. Rogan's show has shifted from an eclectic guest list to a curated tribe. Esther stands apart, but not necessarily in the tribe. Lastly, timing plays a role. In 2015, Rogan's show was in a different era, more comedy variety, less topical intensity. People like Esther had fits. But as the show matured and the narrative sharpened, Esther stayed busy herself, hosting her own podcast, working TV and live shows. It may simply be that both moved on, and logistically rhythm never aligned again. Not every worthwhile guest gets a callback, even if they made a strong impression. So does Esther Ku not returning to the Joe Rogan Experience mean she's funnier than Rogan? No, it means she followed her own path while Rogan's show followed a different one. It's not about eclipsing, it's about fit, timing, rhythm, and podcast evolution. Rogan's platform remains powerful, but it's not the only stage that matters. Esther built hers in parallel, forging success on her own terms. But what do you think? Has Rogan's show become too insular? Or is his cycle of return guests just a natural part of podcast evolution? Sound off in the comments. Your voice shapes the lineup. If this cleared up your questions about Esther's absence, hit like to boost the video. Share with a comedy fan asking, "Where's Esther?" And subscribe for more insights on the unseen mechanics of the comedy world. Because sometimes the story isn't about who got in, it's who built their own place to stand.